All right, let's talk about workplace safety. For years, the big innovation was just taking our paper forms and making them digital, right? But what if that was the wrong move all along? Today, we're going to dive into a pretty radical shift in thinking, moving away from just digital paperwork and towards something way smarter, an intelligent co-pilot that actually helps make our teams safer.
But first, I want to throw a kind of provocative question out there. Is it possible that the safety software we use, the stuff that's supposed to protect us, is actually making things less safe? I know, it sounds a little backwards, but stick with me. It really gets to the heart of a huge flaw in how we've been thinking about digital safety.
Okay, so the real issue here, I call it safety paperwork's big problem. And look, this isn't about paper versus screens. The problem goes way deeper. It's about a broken philosophy that's been baked into most of the safety tools we've been using for years. And this chart, man, it just lays it all out, doesn't it? It shows two completely different worlds. On one side, you've got the legacy tools. They're basically just digitized paper forms, right? All about data entry, all about compliance, and really, they're only built for a handful of safety experts to use. But on the other side, that's the future. We're talking about an intelligent assistant that's all about decision support for everyone. It's not just about checking a box for compliance, it's about making daily operations safer. It's a totally different mindset.
This old way of doing things is what we call a form-first approach. Think about it. You open up the software, and what does it give you? A blank form. That's it. All the expertise, figuring out every single risk, every control measure, that's all on you. The software is just a fancy digital filing cabinet. It holds the information you type in, but it adds zero intelligence to the process. So, where does this all lead? What's the real-world consequence of this form-first thinking? Well, it sends us straight into what I call the check-the-box trap. And believe me, this has some serious knock-on effects. And for way too many companies, this is just the daily reality. This old approach creates huge bottlenecks because only a few experts know how to fill out the forms correctly. The quality of the safety plans is all over the map. And maybe the worst part, it creates this culture where safety isn't about actually controlling risk, it's just about checking the box to keep the auditors happy. Let me walk you through how this expert bottleneck actually plays out on the ground. A team is ready to start a job, but hold on, they can't. They have to wait for a safety specialist to come and create their risk assessment. But of course, that expert is totally swamped with other requests. So what happens? The job gets delayed. Or even worse, the team gets frustrated and either rushes ahead without a proper plan, or they just grab some generic copy-paste assessment that's basically useless. So you end up with these really common, totally predictable failures. Creating assessments takes forever. The quality is inconsistent from one person to the next. The frontline workers, they hate using the tool because it just feels like more paperwork. And this is a big one, there's this huge disconnect between the safety document and the actual plan to do something about the risks. Okay, so that's the problem. But here's the good news. It doesn't have to be this way. This is where we see a huge shift, where we move from just filling out a form to having an intelligent co-pilot by our side. And the heart of this new way of thinking is what's called a task-centric approach. Now, instead of starting with a blank form, the system just asks you a couple of simple questions, like, hey, what are you doing, and where are you doing it? And with just that little bit of context, it intelligently generates the likely hazards, the best solutions, and a real action plan for you. It completely flips the old process on its head. Really, it's the difference between being a data entry clerk and having an expert co-pilot. The old way makes you do all the work, just typing in what you already know. The new way gives you a partner, a co-pilot that provides expert guidance so you can focus on making sure the plan is right. And that's the fundamental leap right there, from simple data capture to genuine decision support. In the old world, the user does all the heavy lifting and the system just sits there. But in this new model, the system is an active participant. It brings embedded knowledge to the table. This turns the user from an inventor who has to create everything from scratch into an editor who just needs to validate and refine. The result? It's faster, the quality is way higher, and literally anyone can do it. Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, but how does this intelligent engine actually work? Let's pop the hood for a minute and see what really makes it tick. The first and maybe biggest game changer is automatic hazard generation. A task-centric system never, ever starts you with a blank page. It's not going to ask you, so what are the risks, and then just wait for you to figure it all out. No, instead, it proactively suggests the risks for you. It takes that little bit of context you gave it, the task, the work environment, the tools you're using, and it pulls from this deep well of knowledge to give you a smart checklist of relevant hazards. This is huge because it makes sure that common and often forgotten risks are always on the table. You get a much more thorough assessment every single time.
But hey, identifying the hazards is only half the battle, right? Once the system helps you see the problems, the next logical step is to help you figure out how to solve them. And that's the second key feature: automatic solutions and controls.
And the benefits here are just enormous. For one, it guides your frontline workers to follow the company's approved best practices. All that critical knowledge that used to live inside one expert's head, now it's captured and reused across the entire organization. And for management, you can finally feel confident that your minimum safety standards are actually being met on every single job.
And this brings us to the final, and maybe the most important piece of this whole puzzle: turning that safety assessment from just a document into real, trackable action.
Because let's be honest, the biggest failure of the old tools is that weak link between the assessment and the follow-through. A brilliant risk assessment that just gets filed away in a digital folder is completely useless. The whole point is to do something about the risks you found. And here's how a modern system finally closes that loop. That guided assessment you just did, it flows seamlessly, automatically, into a structured action plan. Tasks are created, they get assigned to specific people, and you can track their progress all the way to completion. The action plan isn't some extra manual step you have to remember to do later. It's a natural result of the assessment itself. What you get in the end is a living plan. It's an active, operational tool that's driving real safety improvements in real time, not some static document you dust off once a year for an audit. It completely transforms the assessment from a piece of compliance paperwork into a genuine plan for action. So, if there is one thing you take away from all this, I hope it's this. The crucial point, the big idea, is this fundamental shift away from manual, form-based data entry and toward an intelligent, guided process that puts expertise right into the workflow for everyone. And that leaves me with one last question for you to think about. This whole concept is so much bigger than just safety, right? So what other expert tasks in your world are still stuck in that old, static form model, just waiting to be transformed by an intelligent assistant? It's a pretty powerful idea to chew on.